Íslandi á laugardaginn og tók þar við gullskó Adidas sem veittur árlega þeim leikmanni fyrstu deildar karla sem flest mörk skorar á tímabilinu. Það að sjá sem hans í býsna vanur sviðsljósinu, enda staðið undir því í nánast allt sumar, ekki
His left foot strikes it, curls it, and what a goal from Arnar Gunnlaugsson!
But like I said, we showed heart and courage to stay in the game, and really proud of my players.
Dobar dan, dragi gledatelji, dobrodošli u novi podcast. Izuzetna čast i privilegija danas sam predstaviti Arnara Gunnlaugssona, veliko ime sa Premier ligaških terena, iz Francuske Ligue 1, Njemačke Bundeslige, veliko igračko ime i karijera, a sada trener Vikingur Reykjavika klub koji igra Konferencijsku ligu. Arnar, thank you for your time and energy. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I will start with your great football career. You were born in AKRANES, football city, West Iceland. You are in a football family. You and your two brothers all play for Iceland national team. You have a son who plays football. How look your start and your first love with football in Iceland?
Yes, it's true. I'm from AKRANES, which is a small town southwest in Iceland, and it's only 5,000-6,000 people live there, but somehow we have managed to get many football players, and maybe somebody will recognize Gudjohnsen, who played for Arsenal, Gudjohnsen, who played for Derby County, and many more players. Now we have Håkon, young player playing for Lille in France. Isaac is now playing for Düsseldorf, so it's amazing. There must be something in the water there. So I started playing early. Me and my twin brother always went together, and then at the age of 16, we started playing for the first team, and we managed to win titles in Iceland before joining our first professional club, FEYENOORD in Holland, at the age of 19, and then our European career started.
AKRANES, 18-time champion of Iceland, last time 2001, but in your first professional day, one player interesting for Croatian audience is Luka Kostić. He was in the 80s, famous player here in Yugoslavian League. He played for Osijek. How you remember that days in your first professional days in Iceland?
Well, Luka was amazing for the club and for me and my brother. We loved him. We were great friends. He helped us a lot. He was an amazing player, and it was a shame, obviously. He had to come to Iceland for obviously reasons everybody know about, when the war happened in old Yugoslavia. So he was an amazing player, really good leader of the team, and he became like a father figure for many of our young players in AKRANES team, me and Bjarki, for instance. And we used to go to his house and speak about football and stuff like that. So he had amazing impact on our career, and I still see him every once in a while, and it's always nice to catch up.
You was very young when you played for first time for a national team of Iceland. Do you remember that game? I think it was Luxembourg Iceland first game, and that game Arnar Gunnlaugsson scored a goal. Arnar Gunnlaugsson, father of biggest legend Eidur, and you play with Arnar and with Eidur after in Bolton. How you remember Arnar Gudjohnsen like a player?
He is a legend. He is one of Icelandic most iconic players, probably in the top 3 iconic players. So it was a privilege. I think I was 20 years old at the time, and playing with my hero on the pitch was an amazing experience. I think we played maybe 10 games together, and just a great memories of a great man.
Yeah, 93 was a great year for Iceland team. You play, and that year your first games, whole 93 when you play, Iceland didn't lost the game, so it was great games in these days. And Izudin Dervic also played for Iceland.
Yeah.
Do you remember Izudin, born in Banja Luka, but spent almost whole professional life in Iceland?
I remember one story of DERVIC when we were playing Brazil just before the World Cup, and they had a young player who was destined to be a superstar by the name of Ronaldo. And I think after 10 minutes, DERVIC was asking him for his shirt. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here, man? We have to play the game. You have to be focused, man. But we were obviously in awe of his talent. So I think Daði took it a little bit too far. And I think we lost 3-0. Ronaldo had an amazing game. But Daði was a really good professional, quick. He was really... I think he was a winger before or something, but then he transitioned to a defender when he came to Iceland, especially in the national team, played as a fullback and could use his speed and to help out the defense. So good, nice man.
Yeah, that was a great team from Brazil. Ronaldo, Dunga, Cafu, Leonardo.
Oh, yeah. And it was also a memorable game because it was just after Ayrton Senna died.
Yeah.
So the mood in Brazil was a little bit, it was down, and there was an amazing experience playing at the stadium. Everybody was celebrating his life, and you could feel that his presence in Brazil was huge. And so the Brazilian players wanted to memorize him, and also they were really likely to win the World Cup that year. So I think they took it as a extra sign, winning us 3-0, because 4 years later they demanded playing against Iceland again before the World Cup, and so that was before the France tournament in '98. So Iceland became like a lucky team for them.
Yeah, in that days you were David Beckham. Of these days you have a haircut like David Ginola. Many commercials.
I used to have that kind of a hair, not anymore.
Yeah, and winter '93, you receive a call from Feyenoord, one of the biggest club, I think, in Europe, 16 times champions of Netherlands, two-time UEFA Cup winners, final of winner of Champions League in '70s.
Yeah.
How you feel when you receive a call from Feyenoord? That days, Van Henegem was a coach, Ed de Goer, later a goalkeeper of the Chelsea.
And Vinnie Jonesom was a technical director, two legends of a total football game with Johan Cruyff. So I was just unbelievable. I mean, the Dutch football at that time was really strong. I mean, Ajax was becoming maybe 1 or 2 years later a major force in European football under Van Gaal. Played, in my view, they played probably the best football ever to be seen in the modern day football. They, in my recollection, they're the only team who has been applauded from the Bernabeu after beating them 2-0. I still remember that game. And they had amazing view of the game. It was a privilege to play against their great players and see the game in a different light. They had much of the Johan Cruyff philosophies, but Van Gaal also added a little bit of spice to their team, and the young players. Seedorf was probably one of the most amazing talents I've ever played against. And then you had Davids and Kluivert and Bergkamp.
Brothers De Boer, Overmars.
Yeah, Overmars. It was just Finity George.
Yeah.
Jari Littmanen from Finland.
Yeah, I know.
So it's just unbelievable team. But we managed to, in my first season in Feyenoord, we managed to win the title, which was unbelievable. And Ajax obviously took over the next year and won the European Old Champions League in '95. So obviously we were playing against probably the best team in Europe and one of the best teams ever to have played the game.
It's the Klassiker, the game between Ajax and Feyenoord, the biggest game you play in your life. In your first season, like you said, you were champions against that magical Ajax.
Yeah, by far. It's just, you don't understand really until they're on the scene how big of a game it is. The fans before the game and the bragging rights, and obviously two of the most iconic teams in Netherlands. So it's a huge game, and I managed to play in those games maybe 3 or 4 times. So it was really good.
Many players from your generation in Feyenoord now is coach on the highest level.
Yeah.
Jon de Wolf is assistant coach in Feyenoord, and Peter Bosz is now main coach of PSV. He worked on Ajax, Dortmund, Leverkusen. How you remember Peter Bosz in that days? Can you imagine that he will be a coach on such a high level?
Yes. Because Peter Bosz was one of the older players when I arrived. And I always remember he was really kind to me and my brother. He invited us to have a dinner with his family just to get to know him and know the club, and he helped us a lot. But he was really professional, because I remember when me and my brother left his house and we were talking about, yeah, Peter Bosz is a really nice guy, but then the following morning in the training, he just started tackling us. So it was just a reminder, I want to help you, but I'm not your friend. So it's a professional game. It's a really hard environment. But I could always see that he was destined to become a really good coach. He was a really good communicator and a lover of the game.
Arnar, life wrote stories, and he writes stories in your case because in Champions League, draw was crucial for you, and the FEYENOORD go in AKRANES play against AKRANES. Your emotions before that game, and AKRANES win against FEYENOORD.
Yeah, it was strange. I wasn't really mature enough to handle those emotions. It was just a few months after I joined FEYENOORD, and I was playing against my old friends in my home at Reykjavik, and it was difficult for me, and I really struggled that game. And FEYENOORD lost, but thankfully we won the second leg 3-0. But overall, it wasn't a nice memory for me personally.
Do you remember one young guy from Helsingborg, HENRIK LARSSON?
HENRIK LARSSON, yeah.
Yeah, he came in FEYENOORD. First serious European job he has in FEYENOORD. Do you remember HENRIK?
Yeah, he came. He was playing as a FEYENOORD played 4-3-3, and he was a spitz, like number 9, a proper number 9, and he had a really good power, really good box work, clever movements, and great header of the ball. But he wasn't like because he was coming from Sweden, he needed to take his time before he started playing. So it took about 1 year to find his rhythm. But after that, he had a really great career. So he was one of the best players I ever played with.
After FEYENOORD, you go in NURNBERG, you and your brother playing together there. And we have here in that season 2 historical games against Hanover and St. Pauli, because twin brothers score goals in these games. How you feel? And did people notice who is Bjarki, who is Arnar?
Good question. Maybe not at the time, because we had both hair at the time, but I remember that game. It was in Hamburg. Really good game, like a Friday evening game or something like that. So it played under the floodlights. It was a good game, hard game. I think Bjarki scored the first goal and I scored the second, or vice versa. I can't remember, but we had a good time in Nuremberg. It's a really big club in Germany. Sadly, it's always like going in between the first and the second Bundesliga. Never established themselves like in the Bundesliga team, but always highly regarded in the Bundesliga, in the German football. So at the age of 21, it was a really good experience to play in Germany.
Yeah, 95 was a good year for you also on international level. You scored first goal against Chile in a friendly game. Marcelo Salas and Gunnlaugsson scorers, not so bad. And first goal in official game against Sweden. Strong Sweden with Thomas Brolin, Martin Dahlin, great team.
Yeah, that team had just won third prize in the World Cup in the United States, 94. So, and it was a special goal because it was the first ever goal scored in an Icelandic team of a free kick, direct free kick. So it had took an Icelandic national team about 40-50 years to score a one goal from a free kick. So it was one of my favorite goals.
After Nürnberg, you go back on the Iceland. You score, I think, 15 goals in 7 games or something like that. And then France. Sochaux, also big club, big names, big coach, famous here in the Balkan. Mr. Faruk Hadžibegić, captain of Yugoslavia national team. He was national team coach in Bosnia. Mehmet Bajdarević was your
he was good, man. He was amazing player. Yeah,
maybe one of the best Bosnians player of all time.
He was getting towards the end of his career, and so, but you could see his eye for the ball, and it was a bit of a Modric, you know what I mean? He was really technical, amazing man as well. He was really a nice guy. And obviously, Bastille is also a legend in the game as well. I remember him in the World Cup in Italy with the old Yugoslavian team as a centre back, you know. So really strong characters.
One guy who looks similar like you, now he's here, also famous coach Igor Pamić.
Igor Pamić, is he coaching?
Yeah, here he's now coach. He's a successful coach. He was in first league.
You have to give him my best. We were really good friends in Show. He was a funny guy. He was
he looks like you, but he's a little bit.
He's a bit taller than me.
Yeah, but you are now in better shape. But it's okay. You know, he has maybe a few pounds more. But he's a successful coach. He's really in good level here now.
All my best, Igor.
Bolton, I don't know, highest level first game, like a dream in the Highbury against Arsenal, mega Arsenal champions with Arsene Wenger. I think first time Wenger title in that year. You have like teammates Jussi Juskilainen, and Bolton is great club in the history. They have JJ Okocha, Ivan Campo, Yuri Djorkaeff, Eidur Gudjohnsen, Emil Heskey, Nikola Anelka. Many great players. In '97, I think year before that you came, they go in Reebok Stadium. They have new stadium. How you remember that days in great club, in great league?
I remember it really well because English Premier League was then about 4 years old, and you could see like every year was going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The best coaches were arriving, the best players were arriving, and you could see that Man United and Arsenal were starting to dominate, not only in England but in Europe as well. So my first game was at Highbury, one of my favorite stadiums, small compact stadium, but with a really nice pitch. And it was a game where Ian Wright broke the scoring record for Arsenal. He scored, it was a famous picture when he lifted his shirt off and it said 179 or something. And so we lost the game 4-0, which should be disappointed for me, but I was so happy just to be on the same pitch as all my favorite players.
In England was something strange in 2024. They have Chelsea, I think, maybe first or some. Crystal Palace also with Lombardo have that. Ruud Gullit was player and the coach in the same team. After
Vialli as well.
Vialli, and I think maybe Zola. I didn't sure about Zola.
Yeah.
But how you look on that in these days? You know, it's a little bit strange from.
Yeah.
From
it was different times. It was probably normal at the time, but it's unimaginable today. It's not possible today with all the details of coaching and the stress and everything. But at the time, I remember I thought it was like, oh yeah, it's okay. Maybe it's fine to be a player coach. But now today is impossible. But the names you mentioned are obviously one of Europe's or the world's biggest stars. You know, Ruud Gullit and Vialli, and they had the personality, and I think Glenn Hoddle before that, all of the same club, Chelsea. Maybe they were into player management thing. So I don't know, but it's funny to look at how the game has changed and has evolved in the last 10, 20 years, and it's just becoming almost like a different game.
I must ask you about one iconic player. He played for Wimbledon, Vinnie Jones. You played against Vinnie Jones. Vinnie was that hard guy, like they say.
Yeah, I have a good story of Vinnie playing against him in the League Cup with Bolton. And I remember I nutmegged him. I put the ball through his leg, and he turned me and told me that if I ever do it again, I will kill you. So that's my Vinnie Jones story.
Derby County, one more hard guy, Igor Stimac. Do you remember Igor Stimac, Croatian?
Yeah, centre half.
Yeah.
He did really well in England. He was hard to play against. So he was overall a really good player. There was some good player from the old Yugoslavia coming through, and then we have so many good players. It's unbelievable.
You are lucky with the games against world champions. In '98 qualification for Euro, France was world champion. They came on Iceland and they didn't win. The game was 1-1. France with the strongest team: Barthez, Thuram, Lizarazu, Henry, Zidane, Deschamps, Piré. All the best players, but you struggle and you made the draw.
Yeah, we even scored the first goal, but then Zidane took over and he managed to create a goal for, I think, Dugari scored the equalizing goal, but 1-1, obviously an amazing result. Well, probably one of the best results ever in Icelandic football history against the World Cup holders, so amazing day.
98-99, the first part of the season in Bolton in the championship, maybe the best part of your career in England. You scored 13 goals in only one half of the season. Arnar Gunnlaugsson came in Bolton. Did ask you about Arnar, how it's possible to Arnar come in that days, how it's working with scouting, and did chef of the Bolton ask you about Arnar, what you know about him?
Yes. Colin Todd was my manager in Bolton, and he had an eye for young talents. He not only brought me and Arnar, he brought some Danish players as well, Klaus Jensen and Per Fransen. So when the name Arnar is obviously a well-known name in European circuit, he was young when he went to PSV and he had a big talent. So he was injured for 2 years. So Colin Todd was asking me about how I thought about him joining us, and I said, I mean, go for it. He's a fantastic player. So he came, but he was not fit enough. And we only played like, I think, 20 minutes together in a game against Birmingham.
Yeah, and that game was three guys from Iceland in the game.
Yeah.
Bergson was third guy.
And then obviously when I got sold to Leicester, he kind of took my place in Bolton. So it's thanks to me that Arnar had a really great career.
There you go in Leicester, a big transfer in that days. Coach was Martin O'Neill, two-time champion of Europe with player with Nottingham Forest. Big coach. After Leicester, he go in Celtic and Aston Villa. Great results. United was the best team in England in that days. You have like teammates Robbie Savage.
And Europe.
Yeah. You in teammates in Leicester was Robbie Savage, Zagorakis, Neil Lennon, Emil Heskey. Great players.
Yeah, then Stan Collymore was there as well for a while, and the amazing team, amazing players. It was always like a top 10 team in England. They won the League Cup twice. Martin O'Neill, one of biggest characters as a manager coming out of the UK, but unfortunately, I was injured a lot in my days in Leicester. I didn't play many games, but I played some memorable games. So it was just a privilege to be playing at the highest level for legend of the game. And you had so many good players, so many good managers, and I look back at my time in England as fond memories.
Yeah, and you won with Leicester League Cup. League Cup Leicester win in the final game against Tranmere. Matt Elliott 2-1, and you have big impact in that journey because you score against Leeds in penalty shootouts goal, and you score against Fulham in quarterfinals also in shootouts goals. So not so bad. One trophy in England, and you didn't play for Manchester, Arsenal, Chelsea, and something like that.
Yeah, I mean. Like I said, I mean, sometimes you have injuries and stuff like that, but then you're disappointed at the time. But then when I'm thinking of now how far I got in my career, I'm proud and happy about it. Obviously, the games you mentioned, the League Cup is a special competition for Leicester. And then we did really well in the FA Cup as well. I remember scoring against Arsenal in a penalty shootout against Arsenal. David Seaman in goal, really good, great goalkeeper. And obviously, Anfield was my favorite place. Even though I'm a Man United fan, Anfield was the favorite place to go and play. Touch the sign. This is Anfield, and just dream that when you were a kid, dream at playing at those stadiums, and I got to realize those dreams.
Yeah, you have 2 times alone episodes in Stoke City. And you go in Dundee United in Scotland, also big club, finalist of Cup UEFA 87, champions of Scotland one time. Rangers was best team that year in Scotland with Alex McLeish, Barry Ferguson, Ronald De Boer, Shota Alverazzi, Mikel Arteta playing that year there. How you remember Scotland?
It was towards the end of my professional career, and my body was starting to deteriorate a little bit. So it wasn't the happiest of time. I was only there for 6 months. I could feel that my professional career was coming to an end. So, but obviously, it's always a nice experience to live in a new country and learn different cultures. But overall, as a football side of things, it didn't go that well. So I came back home at the age of 30, still a young man, but my career was then over as a professional football player.
Yeah, but you met in Scotland old friends against Celtic, Martin O'Neill and HENRIK LARSSON. These two guys was on his prime.
Yeah. I mean,
his
Rangers and Celtic are really good teams, and some good players and good managers. So, but they were like so far ahead of the rest of the teams in Scotland. It was too big of a goal, and still is probably. It's only a two-team championship in Scotland.
Arnar Gunnlaugsson, like a coach, you are still a young coach. You have many trophies in your young career, professional, 2-time champions of Iceland, 4 times a cup, 1 time Super Cup, and historical result with Vikingur Reykjavik. First time that club go in European competition group phase. But how it started? You were many years assistant coach, and how you make a choice, I will be the first team coach?
Well, after my career was over 2010, I took a long break from football. I didn't do anything in football for about 6 years. But then I started to think about coming back into the football, and I took an assistant job at KR for 2 years. And then I became an assistant at Vikingur 2018. So some really good coaches there, old coaches who taught me a lot, and then I became a head coach in 2019, and the club has been really successful. With won a lot of trophies, and I'm doing really well in Europe, and we have financial stability. So overall, it's been a really great experience.
This year is amazing in Europe for your club, but we will do a few steps back, and your experience in Europe start season 2022-23, and you made a draw against Malmo and one close loss against Malmo. Malmo is a great team, one of the best in Scandinavia. So can you remember these games, and did you think that in that days we can do something amazing in next few years?
Yes, we did. We played our first European game in the COVID year of 2020. We played against Ljubljana, just one leg, and we lost that game in extra time, being one man down for like 120 something minutes. So it was a really good game. But then we played 2022. We played Malmö. And we beat Levadia from Estonia 6-1 at home. But then we played Malmö, had really strong games, 3-2 away, man down in the first half, and then 3-3 at home. But then we played Lech Poznan in the next round and beat them 1-0 at home, and then in extra time in Poland. But what I remember about those games were that football isn't only played in England, because you had so many passionate supporters in the Lech Poznan Stadium and in Malmö Stadium, and in all the European adventures we had so far. Is just a reminder that football is a global thing, and passionate fans and good players are everywhere. Because I'm saying this because sometimes you get too focused on the biggest leagues, and you forget that there's some nice football being played everywhere else. And so far the journey has been amazing for us, and this year, obviously, with the results we've been having. So I like to think that we are competitive, playing against probably teams with much bigger budget than we have, and which goes to show that everything is possible in football if you are tactically clever and have good fit players.
Yeah, but last year also was good sign for this year because you beat Riga. Riga is a club from Latvia, and that club buy one player, Hrvoje Babec, from Croatian League for 1.5 million euros.
Yes, so just before we played against them. So
so this is one thing who can show us what is difference in the budget against Riga. And,
I mean, just for your viewers, the 1.5 million is more or less maybe 60% of our total budget. So
that is amazing. And Coach Stipic was there, first team coach. His salary on some European level was also good. His players' salaries was much bigger than your players' salaries. So and this year, who can imagine first round Shamrock Rovers and Vikingur, and then November in Shamrock and Vikingur are in Conference League, and both team plays very well.
Yes, we had two really good games against Shamrock. Our statistics in those games are amazing, but they beat us. Sometimes you lose a game in football, but you play well and you can learn something from it, and you can use that experience going further. So I knew it after that game, even though we lost, that we had a really good chance. If we stayed focused and worked hard, we had a good chance of qualifying for the Conference League. Sometimes you need a bit of a luck with the draw, but we had difficult games. We played Agnatia from Armenia. Difficult travels and difficult environment, the stadiums, and so we did really well. We qualified. We lost the first game in Cyprus, which was a bit of a learning curve, and it was 1-0 after 18 minutes, but then 3 goals, and then we lost 4-0. But then the players, we learned something from it. I learned from it as well. So the last 2 games, Serki Bruce, Borach, a win, and then we had a really good away draw against Noah 2 weeks ago. So now we have a good chance of qualifying, which is amazing for a club of our size to qualify. So fingers crossed, we're gonna give it all.
Yeah, but this victory against Cercle Bridge was shocking for, I think, European football, because Cercle Bridge have one of the youngest and best coaches in Europe, Miran Muslic. They have Denki. Denki will sell him 20 minutes maybe, and then a victory against Borac, and then Noah Armenians who beat AEK Athena. You have a draw, and you are now 14 in the table, 7 points. I must tell people, Basak Shehishpor from Turkey, 2 points. Molde from Norway, 3 points. Panathinaikos, 4 points. Betis from Sevilla, 4 points. Copenhagen, 5 points. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable results after these 4 games, and you have 2 games till the end against Sweden Djurgården, and in the Linz, Austria against Lask.
It's amazing. Just when you say it, all the big clubs and stuff like that below us. But we have to stay focused and stay humble and work hard. It's a different period for us now because the league has finished and we are not in a good rhythm, but still we train hard and try to do our best. And that's why I'm also pleased with the result in Armenia, because we hadn't played for a while, and Armenia league was just, they're in a good rhythm. And playing away and home in Europe it's really hard to describe, but it's like 2 different sports. You have to play differently away than at home, and so it was good to get a draw. But against Djurgården next week, we have to utilize our home stadium, our home ground, and try to go for a win.
It's a problem for you because you don't play National League games, only Europe.
Yes and no. I mean, we had a really tough season because we had so many games, and that's why I always say to my players, you have to respect the big players, from City and Liverpool, and who are always playing Thursday, Wednesday, Sunday, Saturday, like every year around, and play so many games. You have to be focused and sharp and dedicated and not lose your hunger. So I think we needed a little bit of break after our season officially finished in Icelandic League. So it was good to get those 2 or 3 weeks. But now we need to get back into the rhythm. I was most worried about the Noah game because that was like 4 or 5 weeks since the league's finished. But now I'm not so worried because now we have Djurgården and then we have LASK only a week later. So we should be in a nice rhythm right now.
And my last questions, whole interview I ask is part of the time about Balkan players. And you have Balkan blood also in your team. Great young player Daniel Đurić. He has strong football DNA. His father was also successful player in Yugoslavian League. What do you think about Daniel?
Daniel has amazing talents. He's great on the ball and he loves football. He's always practicing, and I think he will go far in his career. Now, he came to us 2 or 3 years ago from Midtjylland. He went as a young boy to Midtjylland in Denmark, who are now champions of Denmark. And sometimes with the young players, you go maybe a little bit too young away from home. We have been quite famous for getting young players who have left Iceland maybe 15, 16 and got them when they're 18 and did well, bringing them up a little bit. So he has played a lot of games, won titles, and now he has a stature in the game and he's growing in confidence every year. So I fully expect him to be one of his last game for us, because I hope that he will be signed for a team in Europe to play for next season. And what a really good boy and a good player. We also have a goalkeeper coach, Hairudin Kartaklia, who is Bosnian. So we have connection with the Balkans.
Yeah, sell Daniel to us. I'm a fan of Dinamo Zagreb, so we need some creative midfielders. So you can.
I will.
Mr. Arnar, thank you for your time. It was a great honor for you to speak with you. And
thank you, Dennis.
Best of luck for you in the future and your club.
Thank you, Dennis. All the best.